come from on those misses. On the offensive rebound, nice job by Bull Bowen to look inside out.
Wilkins, bullet pass. The help defense for Bowser, and he finds the cutter Johnston.
That's what we talk about. You see something different out of Bowser almost every game, certainly every year. He wasn't doing that 2 years ago as a freshman.
Well, that's a tough assignment for Vanderwall to try to hang with Phylon. Allen, and he's bumped out high by his fellow freshman, Wilkins. That's 2 on Alex Wilkins of Furman. We arrive at our first official timeout. The very first game played here in Timmons Arena. Not official for the record books, but a memorable experience for all those here.
And the Paladins are knocking down some threes. Then they're getting
nice congregating area as well. Alabama inbounds. The Paladins led by 9 early. They're up by 6. Dave Friedman, more on what this building is all about.
You know, honestly, Pete, if you didn't know you were in the same facility as they played the last 25 years, it looks like a completely different place. A $40 million renovation. 10 of those million came from alumni Ravenel Curry. The facade in the lobby completely redone. They now have those Paladin eyes that illuminate on the facade. The Hall of Fame video board features a 30-foot video board in the lobby. 360-degree traversable concourse, new audio, new video, premium seating. In fact, there's a lounge area for only people seated courtside. There's a family zone with a climbing wall. They really have all of those modern touches.
And Bob Ritchie was very much front and center in the design of this building. Of course, Jason Donnelly, a great basketball background, the athletic director here in Dean. All of those two factors, I really think, help contribute to just a great setup that they now have.
Absolutely transformational, really, of sort. Bob Ritchie said it best, mid-major seating, but high-major amenities, and that's what Dave talked about.
Latrell Wrightsell just into the game, kicks it into the corner, and from downtown, Holloway hits. He was a 41% three-point shooter last year. Bama as a team 35%, but they are apt to take a bunch of threes every game. Bullet pass inside, and Tom House, guy who gave them a big boost down the stretch last year. He's able to bank it home, transfer from Florida State. Bull Bowen with a nice step through as he goes underneath the defender.
Boy, Bull Bowen's been good here in the last couple of minutes. I was going to say that last possession, House, he goes back door because he gets overplayed. He's the best three-point shooter.
Over their final dozen games or so, he was nearly 60% beyond the arc. He really lit things up in Asheville especially. Davis Molnar, one of the veterans on this team, expected his teammate to be elsewhere, but Owen Ritger, one of the freshmen in that highly touted class, went the other way. So it's a turnover for the Paladins, and back over to Alabama. They've got a chance to take their first lead.
We've got really 5 new guys on the court for Furman, 4 newbies for off the bench for Alabama. This is what the coaches want during an exhibition. They're going to tinker with the lineups, what works, what doesn't work, what do we need to get better at both ends of the court.
Holloway was looking to feed it to his big post player Williamson. Now Williamson out high. We knew we'd see him early on. I actually thought we saw him earlier than we had. Here's a feed to Williamson and a pretty dish on the baseline. Johnston got there a little bit too late, and a gentle flush goes down for Davion Hanna, freshman out of Milwaukee.
Nice hands there by Hanna. I thought Johnston was going to come up with a deflection. Well, I'm impressed with how Furman has just continued to run their offense, though, against this longer, more athletic Alabama team.
Latrell Wrightsell defending House, who dribbled it off his leg, and that'll be a second Furman turnover here in the past minute or so in the game clock. Wrightsell bumping into one of our officials, Michael Husted, joined today by Vladimir Voyar-Tadal and Billy Dunlap. And you see back on the floor with those 2 fouls, Wilkins. Again, preseason game, and you want to see a lot of combinations more than anything else. Another freshman defending the inbound, Abijah Franklin out of nearby Ren High. Williamson, big man stepping out, not going to go. Battle for the rebound, and a foul's going to be called. Well, little contact going on there, and hitting the deck hard was London Jemison, the freshman.
3 by Williamson, and I'm saying Molnar just stepped in underneath the offensive rebounder right there. You talked about Franklin and Wilkins, 2 freshmen that really are getting a good hard look at the guard slot, particularly point guard. And that, who becomes that point guard when the getting gets tough for the Paladins is going to be a lot to tell about their success.
Nice backside rebound, Hannah. Johnston had a handle on it. Last touched by the Tide. It'll go back over to Furman.
Edwin Bronson, another guy that will play in the backcourt. Kind of a two-guard that's being transitioned to a point guard. They've done that before here at Furman.
Wilkins defended by Holloway. Holloway and Fillion give them two really good defenders in the backcourt as well. Wilkins, little step back from the elbow. Bob Ritchie could not talk enough about this guy during our shoot-around conversation with him today, and he loves everything about him, Dave.
Wilkins is a guy that has those instincts, and if you have the instincts, then when the lights go on, you'll be ready.
Yeah, terrific confidence shown by the freshman here in the first 7.5 minutes.
House a strong move, and he's able to induce the foul. In disbelief is London Jemison. Came from New England, out of Bloomfield, Connecticut. 6'8" freshman, another one of the...
Number 12, you'll see some jersey changes. He was formerly number 3 last year, went to 12 because Asa Thomas wanted 3, and then that made Davis Molnar then move from 12 to now 77.
House was 67% from the line last year, a native of Dayton, Ohio. Yeah, the Davis Molnar to 77 kind of invokes thoughts of Dave Marcus, the NASCAR driver from back in the 70s and 80s. I think he had a number up there in the 70s.
I think it's more because of Luka Doncic being his favorite player.
I think Ray Nitschke for the Packers wore a number in the 70s. Well, it might have been 77. Holloway with Wilkins dogging him near midcourt. Hannah. Thomas defends him. The Clemson transfer. Strong move to the bucket. Rattles off, no good. Johnston, they'd like to see more out of him on the boards this year. He was 3.1 rebounding a season ago per game, but he probably has more in the tank than that. Molnar, another veteran in the program, working on Hannah. Wilkins loads up. And the battle for the rebound. And coming away with it, Tavion Hannah, 4-star recruit out of the state of Wisconsin. And from the corner, bombed away with Molnar on the floor on the other end of the court as Holloway hit the 3, and the Tide extends its lead to 22-18. Over to the right, as you see Bob Ritchie heading that way, Davis Molnar looking like he's in a lot of pain, battling for the rebound moments ago. The Tide and the Paladins and the new Timmons are back after this. Holloway, the scoreboard's not reflecting that. So apparently that was waved off. Davis Molnar injured and is headed off the court. As play resumes, Cooper Bowser and Asa Thomas. The Clemson transfer lobbing for Bowser. Gentle touch that time. He threw one down on an alley-oop earlier.
He knows what he is offensively, right around the rim, and then be that rim protector at the other end.
Pylon missing badly, and then an offensive foul called on Houston Millett. House hit the deck. Nate Oates has had great success at Alabama in his 7 years. Dave Friedman, here's a guy who got this program to its first ever Final Four, but there's even more than that.
Yeah, with no disrespect to Mark Gottfried or Wink Sanderson, the program at Alabama has been second fiddle to football for years and years and years. But since Nate Oates has been there, he's elevated them in a different way. Their first Final Four a couple of years ago, 4 Sweet 16s in 6 seasons. They've led the nation in scoring offense the last 2 years. Their tempo, #1 in the country last year. And so much of it is analytics. And he used analytics when he was a high school coach and when he was at Buffalo. But now those theories he had have been proven. And Dean, it really comes down to the shot spectrum. They try to shoot 3-pointers, layups, and free throws, and not a whole lot else.
That's exactly right. And he mentioned to us before the game, he said, look, I've always kind of had those theories. As you see Wilkins right here, the shot clock running down, little shot fake to get 2 Bama guys in the air, but now he's got the resources, the financial ability to really utilize those analytics. And to go along with that, he has said this, he's got a chance to be the best shooting team that he's had at Alabama. So now that really adds to really thinking threes and layups.
Second personal on their big man, Aiden Sherrill. So Alex Wilkins, we saw him knock down his first jumper in Timmons Arena in a game. The freshman Down here from Mattapan, Massachusetts. That's his hometown, but I don't get that first free throw to fall.
We haven't even begun the regular season, but looking at number 10 in white, boy, he looks awfully talented. And a guy that can really help this Paladin team as a true freshman.
Apparently the knock against him in recruiting was he weighed only about 150 pounds. And again, Bob Ritchie says he's got a great strength and conditioning team here. They've gotten him up to 175. Doing what he loves to do. Furman can't finish. Here comes Wilkins looking to push the pace. Thomas. Strong drive. Can't get the bounce. Battling with Bol Bowen. And it'll go back over to Alabama. Asa Thomas from the Chicago area. They were really excited when he arrived at Clemson. Brad Brownell thought he could really fit in as a shooter. Just didn't work out there, but he's found a home now with Bob Ritchie.
He's a guy as a freshman, had shoulder surgery, so he redshirted, and then last year just kind of got caught in a numbers game, and I think he's got a chance to flourish as well, as we see Bowser, they're trying to extend him away from the rim.
With a strong move to the bucket, and Holloway is fouled. Count it. Alabama goes back in front.
Nice late clock offense right there. Watch this again. They bring Sherrill up to screen, but more importantly, bring Bowser away from the rim so he can't look to block the shot. All they can do is foul. Nice job by Philon there finishing.
Preseason All-SEC performer, Aiden Holloway, a junior. He probably welcomed this exhibition game. He's from Charlotte, so not all that far for friends and family to drive down. He'll move into their starting lineup this year. He's not started, but when you got a guy named Mark Sears in front of you, even if you're a five-star like Holloway was coming out of high school, you're going to work while you wait. Can't get the free throw to go. Hustling for the rebound, and it'll come away to Bol Bowen. On the wing. Huron, bullet pass underneath, and a pretty reversal. Peyton Bristow. Averaged better than 11 points at Tarleton State in the WAC a year ago. Wilkins losing the defender. And it's Bristow who comes away with it. Tide a chance to build on their biggest lead so far. And that's why Furman is so tough to defend. He prefers finishing at the rim with that 6'4" frame and speed. That's no problem for him.
In the blink of an eye, yeah, the Tide get back, and they can turn defense into offense as quick as anybody in the country.
Bol Bowen, the Florida State transfer, fouled on the other end. Bronson and Wilkins were the defenders, and it'll be a third on Wilkins.
This Crimson Tide team credit, you talked about it, you see the replay right there. Bol Bowen is a guy that can get the rebound and initiate the offense. Pretty unique at 6'10". But look, they were down 9-0. And Nate Oates didn't call the timeout, let them play through it, and now they've been rock solid here in the last 5 to 6 minutes.
And a free throw will not go down. Bol Bowen, originally from Egypt, played at Brewster Academy in Vermont before he headed to college, Florida State. A year ago, he averaged 8 points and 5.2 rebounds a game, and the great Leonard Hamilton's final season guide in the Seminoles. Here he is now playing for Nate Oates and the Tide. And the front court with the loss of Grant Nelson and some others is really where they've got some question marks, and they looked at their Florida State exhibition about a week ago, and this game today is really vital, especially with what they've got to open up the season. They start against North Dakota at home, but then their next 4 games at St. John's at the Garden, Purdue at home, Illinois and Chicago, and Gonzaga in Las Vegas. So they will be tested early on, will the Crimson Tide, getting ready for the SEC.
Nate Oates has never shied away from playing a non-conference schedule that ranks among the nation's best.
Millette, the hesitation. Bronson defending. On the wing, Furman, he's trying to improve his outside game. He was 32% a year ago, and that tray gives his Alabama team an 8-point lead. 28-20, 8:58 to go here in our opening half of play.
Again, you see Philon step back. He recognizes where he is. Defense collapses following the ball. That's a reason he came back. He could have stayed in the NBA draft, would have been drafted. But at 31.5% behind the arc, he was wanting to improve that among his defense as well to increase his stock. And he is showing it here in the early part of the exhibition season. 3 of 4, as we mentioned, behind the arc last week against Florida State. And he knocks down another one here.
Wonderful turnout as you expect for this first game. Bama, by the way, has another upstate team on the schedule. The ACC SEC Challenge. They've got Clemson coming back there. They played a classic game against the Tigers a few years ago, and then of course met them in the Elite Eight out west a couple of seasons ago. An example of some of the interiors of this building, and that named in the honor of the recently passed, the late great Raymond Newsom, for years and years, and he passed away back in August. And certainly our condolences to his family, many in attendance here, but a very great man, and a guy who was almost like a second father to Furman head coach Bob Ritchie. He was vital to Bob Ritchie's growth as a head coach and as a man over the years. Out high, Bronson surrounded by Tide defenders. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Johnston can't get it to go. Vanderwall battles on the offensive glass. Here's Bronson out front. And the rebound deflected. Going on to the Tide, no look pass, Amari Allen, and Johnston deflecting it. Off of Allen, the Tide freshman, back over to Furman.
Really impressed with the Tide's defense on that last possession, getting after Bronson. Furman just never able to get any flow right there and took two really off-balance threes.
Johnston will not hesitate if a three is at hand. Bronson will reset. Vanderwall, the senior, he has been around for a lot of winning in this program. Now Johnston. Back in on Millette. Pretty feeds underneath. Bowser unable to get it to go. Get a late whistle on a foul.
A couple of nice interior passes right there. First from Johnson, and then Vanderwall recognizing Bowser cutting to the basket. Certainly not a critical time for the Paladins, but they need some points right now. They've been in a little bit of a stall offensively, but credit Alabama for that with really good half-court defense.
Bama on a 28-11 run since Furman opened up with a 9-0 advantage. A year ago, it was Auburn who came to Greenville in an exhibition game. That was a tight ball game deep into the first half. They played that at Furman's home away from home last season, the Well in downtown Greenville. Bowser gets the rattle. He was 58% from the line last year.
Back to the non-conference schedule, which is brutal for Nate Oates, but he says, look, we got to figure out any weaknesses or areas that need improvement, because really it comes down to being ready for SEC play, which again is going to be really, really good. I mean, you have the returning national champions in Florida, Kentucky really good. They looked really good the other night in their exhibition win against Purdue. There's Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri. Could be as good as any in the country.
So Bowser pulls Furman back within 6, 28-22.
Little half-court trap right now, and you see Johnston with that wingspan up front really causing some issues.
And Bowser forcing the turnover. 57 steals a year ago to lead the team, to go with all those blocks.
Nice job by Bob Ritchie changing up the defense right there.
Pass inside to the big man. Gets it on the wing. Thomas with the defender Millette. Couldn't get it off the glass. And it hit behind the backboard. Back over to Alabama. Tide will have the ball back. Johnston and Furman. First game that they're playing here in the new Timmons Arena. They'll start counting in about a week. We'll take a timeout. 7:32 to go in our opening half of action. An SEC team is in town.
And you're seeing the Paladins stick with them. Everybody get
changed just as much as the arena area. You can probably get 3,000 folks or so in here. The one level of stands. The previous building had 2 levels. They weren't separate decks, but this one much more intimate, but much more from a functional standpoint with suites and an area where folks can stand and watch. Three-pointer goes down once again for the Tide. Boy, Holloway and company have started to feel the rhythm of this building. 50% beyond the arc so far. Bronson on the other end, and Amari Allen, highly regarded freshman out of Green Bay, with the rejection.
You saw Holloway with that last 3. He's now 3 of 3 behind the arc. Bronson at the other end, but Holloway's a guy that took 19 threes in a game a year ago. Against South Dakota State, made 8. So he certainly has got the green light from Oates and staff.
Paladins off the inbound. Johnston. Vanderwall. With the crew they have, with the Bowser, with Asa Thomas joining them, he'll maybe be the biggest 2-guard in the league at 6'7". House is pretty sizable, about 6'6", 6'7". I mean, Furman could roll a group out there that's bigger than any SoCon team they face this year at one time.
They can be big, or they can be fast and spread it out. Lots of versatility on this team, and they can go 10 deep. We've seen 11 Paladins play so far.
Williamson picking up the foul for Alabama. Long throw in by House. It'll be a backcourt violation. They couldn't clear the midcourt line under that circumstance. So back over to Alabama. As the Tide like to do, they can force turnovers. Paladins right around half a dozen so far.
They've got length. Who's going to be that rim protector for the Crimson Tide still remains to be seen, but across the board, they're big, they're fast, they're athletic. They can be a really good defensive team. I think that's the key.
Williamson can't get it to go from long range. Deep rebound. Here's Wrightsell, a guy they're as high on as anybody. Missed most of last year with an injury after transferring from Cal State Fullerton. And Williamson, traditional layup with a finish.
Super skilled on offense. Just got to get used to this pace, and then he'll be a player for the Bama Crimson Tide.
The lead grows to 11. First double-figure advantage. Knocked out of bounds. Allen, they like the defense he brings as well. 0 for Furman as Abijah Franklin back on the floor after a really good career for Wren. Played for Fran Campbell and the Golden Hurricanes, not far from here. And a first appearance in the game for Colin O'Neill. Takes the inbound pass, gives it back to Franklin, who feeds Bowser.
Boy, what a terrific finish at the rim with contact. Bowser's not going to see this kind of length and athleticism in SoCon play. If he can finish like that, he'll be able to do it come January and February.
16 points in the opening half for Aiden Holloway. Yeah, he really does want to step up into that Mark Sears role.
And Chris Youngblood as well, who made the Oklahoma City Thunder roster.
They did lose a lot of talent, but they like what they have back. Bowser again down low. Feeds the freshman. O'Neill.
That should be a confidence builder for the freshman. Goes up, takes the contact, uses the offhand to finish. Really a nice play, and he cut to the basket to help his teammate there, saving the ball. Bowser underneath. Really a nice play by O'Neill.
Allen picked up the personal. 5 team fouls each in this opening half. And the free throw coming off. Tide's lead is 10. Different pace than what they had against Florida State in Birmingham in their first exhibition. Hanna, step through. And a foul will be called.
Well, you've seen Alabama as they've kind of hit the rhythm here after that 9-0 start by Furman. Watch it again. They've really let some dribble penetration occur. Defensively, Furman's got to tighten things up. It's got to be man-to-man. It's also got to be in the help spots.
Colin O'Neill picks up his first personal. Davion Hanna out of Milwaukee, finished in high school at Link Prep. 4-star recruit. Number 1 in Wisconsin on the charts, and number 3 combo guard in last year's recruiting class. And he can't get the roll on the second free throw. Bowser pulls down another rebound. Franklin, one of those guys as athletic as anyone. Can he knock down the 3? No. Tide looking to build on another double-figure advantage. Bull Bowen out front. Knocked away Vanderwall.
That's good help defense right there by Vanderwall, the veteran.
O'Neill, a real north to south kind of player, Bob Ritchie tells us. Kind of straight ahead. Very athletic, just like Franklin, who can wiggle, but he can't finish the drive. Bull Bowen, and O'Neill knocks it away. A sign of that athleticism. Quickly ahead, Franklin has it rejected. Hanna got way up there. Other end, Wrightsell has it tipped, but underneath to clean up, Amari Allen, the freshman for the Tide.
Furman, you need a good 4.5 minutes right here. Don't rush. You want to play fast, but you want to play inside out if at all possible.
And Abijah Franklin can't get it to fall, but a foul is called. It'll go against Holloway.
Bob Ritchie's going to have plenty of things to talk about at halftime. He's got 2 freshmen in there in the backcourt. Franklin and O'Neal just kind of learning their way. Look, a man among boys in high school is just a man among men at the college level.
And the Furman head coach couldn't emphasize enough a guy like you've got in Abijah Franklin, all kinds of physical ability, but so much to learn. And what a different player, once we get to SoCon play, Dave, we'll see out of Abijah Franklin just from knowledge on the court.
There's a lot of learning and a lot of maturing to take place. Dean, playing against teams like this are going to help young players.
Absolutely. Right. Again, as I talked about, in high school, a guy like Franklin, he got by with athleticism or strength, and he could score kind of whenever he wanted, even though he was the focal point of the scouting reports. But you get to this kind of competition, it's only going to help him.
Vanderwall knocking it away. Gets it back. Can't finish the break. He'll go to the line. Hannah back there to defend, and he picks up the personal. Really nice job by Vanderwall, and then a really good court sense by the freshman O'Neal on the run out.
Gotta love everything about Vanderwall. I mean, he just impacts winning, and it doesn't always have to do with things that show up in the stat sheet. He'll come up with deflections. He'll set screens. Last year, right, when teams started playing off of him, because he's not a terrific three-point shooter, he learned how to screen better and move without the ball to help Tom House and P.J. Smith and Nick Anderson.
He'd like to build his free throw shooting resume as well, just 53% from the line a year ago. Tries to knock down the second attempt here. 6'7" senior from just west of Chicago. And he makes it a 39-28 game. Paladins came out with a fury in their first game action in this building. Had a 9-0 run to start. Vilhon taken away by Vanderwall. A year ago he had 24 steals. That's a second here in this stretch.
Vanderwall again, right place, right spot. Be able to step in there and strip that ball.
One of the newcomers on this team, Owen Ritker. Now House for Vanderwall. Got behind defenders, used the glass.
Nice little screen and roll, turned it down. Nifty little move there, knowing that some length was coming at him to try to block the shot.
Little run for Furman, first we've seen in a while. Wrightsell, originally from Omaha, gets it on the wing. Hannah. Battle for the rebound, and one just physical size for Colin Oniaja, one of their newcomers. From the outside, way downtown. Boy, Latrell Wrightsell trying to make a name for himself in a program that had another Latrell who was pretty good here several decades ago. Oniaja with that really nice rebound, set up another basket for the Tide, and the lead is back out to a dozen at 42-30. Well, the Crimson Tide of Alabama, they've got a lot of athleticism.
The history of Furman basketball, good eras and bad eras, but what Bob Ritchie and before that Nico Medved put together was something very special here in the last decade.
Yeah, they've continued to build, and you see they're reaping the rewards right now with the renovated Timmons. Just a fantastic venue that's going to be really difficult for opponents to come in and be successful.
Holloway out high, plenty of time on the shot clock. He's had quite a first half, scored 16 of their 42 points so far, and he's going to load one up from Steph Curry range. And the deflection comes to House. Paladins had those back-to-back baskets get a little bit closer moments ago. Thomas in transition. And Holloway has it taken away from by Vanderwall. Here's House again. Bowser. Paladins 5 out of 13 from beyond the arc before Thomas is able to knock another one down.
They had missed their last 9 behind the arc, the Paladins, before Thomas knocks that down. Big shot, trying to get this to single digits before halftime.
We're there now. Allen, strong drive. Second effort. Amari Allen, one of those guys that gives Nate Oates a really good feeling about what he's brought in to add to the talent that returned from last year's Elite 18.
Probably better than what he was ranked in the high school level, primed to really be good out of the gate for this team.
O'Neal thought about it. Thomas, hand in his face. Allen at 6'8", no easy target to shoot over, but a 6'7" Thomas hits another 3. Paladins back within 8. 1:30 to go in the opening half. Out high it goes Hannah. House defends. Nearly traveled. And Allen, and he'll go to the line. Fouled by the freshman O'Neal.
Well, he certainly fouled him, but as Bob Ritchie's trying to complain, you're right, boy, that was really close to a travel. That's here again, this is the very end of it, and O'Neal just stepping under the shooter, not allowing Amari Allen to come down. Clearly a foul, he'll get 3 shots.
Amari Allen from Green Bay, Wisconsin. And he can't get the free throw to go down. So obviously Tuscaloosa, Alabama will offer a better winter climate. Unless he really likes the 2-degree weather at various points. Second one goes, and he's got another one coming.
He was a big-time scorer in high school. Averaged 34 last year, 11 rebounds, 8 assists.
And he went to a high school with about 15 letters in its name in the Green Bay area. Easy to pronounce for the locals up there.
That's right, but it's 6'8", a little over 200, and a nice scoring touch, even though he misses 2 of 3 right there. Again, he's got a chance to put himself firmly in the rotation as they open next week.
Victor Bowser holding his own against the bigs for Alabama. Thomas, and now O'Neal. O'Neal getting extended minutes down the stretch here in the opening half. Pulls up over Bol Bowen. And the rebound. Here come the Tide.
A bit too much dribbling right there by O'Neal and the Paladins. Never really got any flow right there.
Holloway, not that time. And O'Neal off the deflection. In transition, Thomas. Bol Bowen probably got a fingertip on it, but last touch by Allen of Alabama. He protests. So does his teammate Jemison, but I love the antics by London Jemison after the call.
You see Bowser just come in there and tip it, and then they said Allen was had the last hand on it.
See the different shot clock to game clock. Thomas on the drive. Goes up over Jemison, no. Battle for the rebound, won by the freshman for Alabama out of Bloomfield, Connecticut. London Jemison. So the shot clock and game clock about lined up. Let's see if the Tide just tries to hold it down to the final seconds.
That's a foul on to make a move with or without a screen with about 8 seconds to go.
And an 18-point swing in this first half. Furman led 9-0 early. Millette, really good shooter, about as good a straight-up shooter as they've seen come their way in a while, their folks tell us. And that'll do it here in the opening half. So the Alabama Crimson Tide, a 12-point advantage on the Furman Paladins. Their second exhibition game. They were up and down the court against Florida State when each team scored in the hundreds. About a week ago in Birmingham. Great basketball tradition, both on the men's and women's side here. And thanks to Jason Donnelly, and what great hosts they've been here, Dean.
They absolutely have, and it, as he mentioned, a very special day, but there'll be more memories as they move forward, not just in men's basketball, women's basketball, etc. Just a terrific venue for this university and for the Southern Conference.
So here we go, second half. First half began with a Furman 9-0 run. Crimson Tide deep in their bench, just like the Paladins have, and Thomas coming away with the steal to start things out. Another stand for the Paladins. Wilkins, the freshman, had to leave in the opening half when he picked up his third personal. With ball movement. Bob Ritchie trying to embrace this game. Regardless of the outcome, it's an exhibition, won't count on the record, but he wants to learn more about his team and young players like Wilkins, who has it taken away by Holloway, and it's saved by the Tide's Aiden Sherrill.
Wilkins played 9 minutes in the first half without a turnover. First one of the game for him, but boy, he was impressive for sure.
Sherrill down low. They really hope he can make a big jump. Vanderwall coming away after the defensive stand. Thomas in the corner. And Johnston battling. Scramble. And the big fella, Sherrill, massive at 6'10", 255. He will be a force in the SEC. Millette hits the deck, and 3 free throws upcoming as Vanderwall came out to defend.
He's not Grant Nelson, but he is skilled. Just needs to be able to play at this pace, a little bit like Noah Williamson.
Let's revisit your keys to the game presented by BMW, Dean's Do's and Don'ts.
Well, I think one of the things for Alabama was that they've got to get better defensively, and as Nate Oates told Dave there walking off at halftime, they did. They increased their ball pressure. and then they started attacking the rim. For Furman, they don't want to get into traffic. They can't give up 48 points in the second half and expect to win this game.
Houston Millette played just 6 games a year ago. Came to them from Pepperdine, originally from out in the Oakland area. 13 points and 7 boards in their first exhibition game. Their wild up and down 4-point win against Florida State gets it a roll home there. And there's a chance to build the biggest lead for the Tide.
That does a little bit of everything for this Tide team. And Nate Oates has said in preseason, this guy watches the most films, asks the best questions. Just a guy that wants to win, and you need guys like that when you've got guys like Philon, Holloway, and others that can really shoot the ball.
Wilkins, good job recovering after he momentarily lost it. Holloway skying for the rebound. Philon. And to bounce in. We featured him in our open. Holloway's been so good scoring with 16 in the first half. The Philon's been quiet after he averaged nearly 11 a year himself. 11 points a game last year himself. Gets the bucket, given 7 so far.
He just imposed his will right there to get to the rim. I'm sure Nate Oates talked about the defense at halftime. Guys, we got to continue to get better, because if they can really become a solid defensive team, I think the backcourt improved, has a chance to be really good at that end.
Nice feed to Vanderwall, but he's unable to get it to go. Tide trying to build a 17-point advantage. Philon, now Sherrill, they'll set it up with Holloway. There's 2 quick guards in the backcourt. And Philon was like he stepped out of bounds.
Who are you going to turn to if you're Furman right now in order to kind of get some things going? Richie's still going to play a lot of different lineups. Still running the same offense, and who do you run it through? Who can get that basket? Wilkins is a guy that can break the defense down. But at the same time, they've got to try to get into the paint in order to get some cleaner threes.
Freshman who they feel comfortable right out of the gate. Letting him run the show at the point. Thomas off the bounce from Bowser. Vanderwall is open. Wilkins will fire from long range. And it comes down to Sherrill. Paladins have that long drought from beyond the arc in the opening half. They're just 5 of 18 on 3-point tries. A year ago as a team, Furman shot 37%. That was second in the SoCon. Working down low. Not going to happen for Caton Bristow as Bowser with a good defense, then the save.
A terrific defense by Bowser right there. Maybe that can get the Paladins going a little bit. Talk about, they made their first 3 threes, and in the end the half, just 2 of the last 13.
And Wilkins getting up there. 6'5" guard, gentle flush.
Look, if Alabama's going to turn up the ball pressure and even help side, they've got to attack the rim.
How about Sherrill on the other end? Just over 3 points a game last season. Big time prospect out of high school. They'll need him to elevate his game. Wilkins can't get it to fall. Holloway off the floor. In transition, Philon. And Johnston pulls it down for Furman.
Nice job right here by Bob Ritchie saying, let's just slow it up. Let's try to run our offense.
Johnston feeds the cutter Vanderwall. Looks like he's in some pain. Might have gotten bumped in the head based on his initial body language. Earlier we saw one of the Furman big men, Davis Malnar, leave with an apparent leg injury. So we're so good you're on board with us for our season premiere of Ingles SoCon basketball. We return to action on the gridiron a week from Saturday, November 8th. Ingles SoCon football has us in the scenic city of Chattanooga. Furman and the Mocs at noon, right where you're watching. And then Ingles SoCon basketball, first regular season game comes to you from Macon, Georgia. We'll be at Hawkins Arena for the Lipscomb Bison out of the ASUN and the Mercer Bears. An ASUN SoCon matchup, part of that series that was put together a year ago, continues this year. Ingles SoCon football and Ingles SoCon basketball in early November. Take another look, and might have been a hard landing. Originally, it looked like when he reached to the right side of his head that he might have gotten doinked by an elbow. So it might have been more of a spinal thing, but he's standing over on the bench. Looks like he's going to be okay. We give him some handing off. Wrightsell back on the floor. Really good transfer guard who was of little availability last year due to injury. He gives it away. Shot clock at 8 now. Off-balance drive to the basket, and it goes down for Davion Hannah. And he extends the lead out to 17. Lob down low, Johnston, and going right up over Taylor Bowen. That was 6-11 on 6-10. The Paladin winning the battle.
Last year, he was primarily a three-point shooter, even at his size. He's worked on his low post. Johnson, that is, he's put on weight.
Latrell Wrightsell fouled on his move to the bucket. Free throws for him upcoming. Tom House. He was part of a late season stretch where he shot nearly 60% from three-point range. That was another deep run for the Furman Paladins in the SoCon tourney. Wrightsell at the line looking to knock down another free throw. And he makes it a 59-42 game. And a Furman team, Dave Friedman, that is looking to build on this history and the recent history they've had this season.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing comes down to 3 days in March, right? The entire season is built on being ready when the lights are the brightest. The environment for that championship game last year in Asheville was absolutely incredible. And to a degree, they're trying to mimic that environment here at Furman. That's what a new arena does. That's what students do. When you have an environment, you have an atmosphere that people want to be a part of. And Dean, I think you would agree, in Asheville, there's something special about what the SoCon does.
There's no better place than Asheville for the Southern Conference tournament. That venue is perfect size. The city embraces all 10 members that show up, both for men's and women's basketball. You're right, Dave. Look, this Furman team, as good as Samford has been, and Chattanooga, and ETSU, they're the gold standard right now. They've played in 3 of the last 4 Southern Conference championships. They lost that heartbreaker 4 years ago, came back, and Bothwell and Slauson and others were on a mission. And they've been really, really good. And it hasn't showed all the time here this afternoon, but they've got a lot of pieces. They can be really good, to Dave's point, for those 3 days come March.
Wrightsell, really quick, and he'll go back to the line. O'Neal, the freshman, defending. Bob Ritchie thought he had a team that could get last year, and it just didn't work out for them.
See the replay right there by Wrightsell. Just guys that can put it on the floor, and they've done that. Well, time and time again here, late first half and now in the second half.
Wrightsell knocks down another free throw. A good-looking player from Omaha, Nebraska originally. Played at Cal State Fullerton before arriving in Tuscaloosa last year, and then just played in a few games because of injury. By the way, the Paladins then went on to the NIT, led by 2 at the break at North Texas. Ended up falling in that game. They led at the half last year 22 times, and that was just their 4th loss in that circumstance when they fell to North Texas.
Back to the SEC tournament, and it's fantastic. When you're in a one-bid league like the SoCon, the magnitude of those tournament games, the level they're played at, the way the fans respond, it's do or die, and that's special.
There's no mulligans that time of year, right? It doesn't matter if you're the 1st seed or the 10th seed. Now, you've got to play an extra game on Friday if you don't finish in the top 6. But again, Dave's absolutely right. There's just something magical about those mid-major tournaments where it all matters for 3 or 4 days.
The electricity is really incredible. And, in some ways, maybe it does get you ready for the NCAA tourney because, of course, it's one and done once you get there. Johnston fouled hard by Taylor Bowen. So that was a guy from Egypt making contact with a guy originally from Australia. So an international flair here in Timmons Arena on this Sunday afternoon. Bronson and the Paladins trail by 12 at the break. But early on, 9-0. Johnston out front. Bronson on the rebound.
Paladins just 2 of their last 18 behind the arc.
And a spin move, Bronson. Can't get the fadeaway to go. Ed Bronson, though, a guy they're really expecting to make a jump this year. Tampa, Florida. Allen, offensive foul is called.
Certainly 3 years ago, that would have been a clear charge. Nowadays, you don't usually get that. But Vanderwall sold it well, and you saw the extension there of the arm by Allen, and that was enough for Billy Dunlap on the baseline to make the call.
And Vanderwall, you can see him back on the floor after taking that hard spill. So Furman gets it back. 18-point game. It's Wilkins, Alex Wilkins, 6'5" point guard. Not too many of those at the mid-major level. He's going to step back. And guys in this league are going to have to defend that because, boy, he can hit him with the vessels.
Yeah, he's going to be a problem in the Southern Conference. He's been the best point guard of any Paladin that's played it thus far today.
Holloway had it stolen. Johnston. And rejected by Bull Bowen. Now they're going to say it's going to count. So he hit it off the glass, goaltend. Bull Bowen at 6'10", and they've got him on the floor with Sherrill. That gives him a couple of big guys there. And Williamson, no slouch at all defending. But again, in Bull Bowen, they want to see what kind of advancement. At the break, they're going to, well, actually, they're going to go ahead and review the basket interference now. It's a coach's challenge.
That's exactly right. Something new this year. You'll see it. Did it hit the backboard first, and/or was it on its way down?
Not sure it would have gone had it not been touched. I don't think that was going to take the trajectory.
Is there enough evidence to overturn this right now? And if it is, if they overturn it, then Alabama will not be charged with a timeout.
Paladins have trimmed it back to 13, and that may not sound like much, but Alabama was flirting with building this out to a 20-point advantage.
A couple of different angles. Watch it here again. Does the ball hit the rim or the basket, or is it on its flight down? Doesn't look like it touches the backboard.
System is in play in college basketball. Coaches are allowed to challenge, but it's limited what they can challenge. Out of bounds calls, goaltending and basket interference, whether a secondary defender was in the restricted arc. Those are the only things that you can challenge, and you have to have a timeout available in order to challenge. If you challenge and you win, you get the timeout and one additional challenge.
Do they consider bringing in the red flag toss like we've seen in the NFL, Dave? Because that would be pretty cool.
I don't know, but I personally think we should give one to you, and you should get one each game.
Well, out there. Here I go again. I'll pick up where I left off last year, though. This challenge, because it's so close and bang, bang, it's allowing a timeout. Dave knows how I feel about this. I don't believe that the team should be able to go to their bench.
Well, like anything else, as it evolves and becomes used more commonly, if you're a coach and your team's on a run, and even if that happens against you, you may just say, you know what, forget about it. We've built this lead. Why break any kind of momentum we might have?
They changed what they did probably 6-8 years ago because the final 3, 4, 5 minutes of their games were taking a half hour, and they basically got rid of any referee-initiated reviews. It all went to the challenge system, and I have to believe this is the first step in the NCAA going in that direction.
That's been a big kind of point of conversation in the offseason of how do we speed up the game, particularly in late stages.
Likes the current system. I have not yet met a coach who thinks a half hour going by to play a minute or 2 or 3 with constant disruptions makes sense. So the NCAA is taking baby steps, but I do think this is a good try and see what works and what doesn't and how you want to expand upon it.
Well, out of the timeout, we still have not gotten out of the video review we had on the screen, rather. 2 of our 3 officials still gathered over the scorer's table. They have stopped watching the video. And Michael Husted will be kind to come over and give us an indication of what happened. Call will stand, so a 30-second timeout is lost. It's an exhibition game. Nate Oatso getting warmed up for SEC play.
Concerned about losing the challenge, not having another challenge, or losing the timeout.
I think he wanted to win the challenge. He's a guy who just wants to win.
He's a competitive guy, absolutely.
We've heard about his competitive nature. He's certainly shown it first at Buffalo, where he replaced Bobby Hurley and did a really nice job with the Bulls and the MAC, and obviously now in season number 7. unprecedented heights for this program in Tuscaloosa. Won't go down for Wrightsell. That's Johnson. So the Paladins with the ball can get this thing back to a 10-point game, but they promptly turn it over. Holloway, now Hanna, the step through. And he's fouled.
And you said it during that break, Pete. I mean, Furman has kind of chipped away at things and got it back to a manageable deficit. Allowed the Tide to just get out and run. Austin just can't get there to block the shot.
Look around the chart in their freshman class. Hanna is a 4-star. They've got others. Sherrell, a sophomore. He was the number 4 center in the 2024 recruiting class. Allen's a 4-star. You got some 5-stars in there like Holloway as Hanna knocks down the free throw. And McDonald's All-American in Jaleel Buffet, who's not available today. He's out with an injury.
And that's why this team has been so good offensively, but really record-wise. We talked about it at the top. Final 4 in 24, and then last year's Elite 8. You get those kind of talents, you put it with the kind of coaching that Nate Oates and staff do, and they're going to be very successful.
Drive to the bucket, not going to go down for O'Neal. Rebound coming down to Williamson. Tide on the move. Kick in the corner. Another try for Wrightsell. And Johnston pulls down another board. And Johnston with 6 of those so far. Paladins almost gave it away. Also got freshman Jemison and Onijaka, who are both 4-stars. Here's Johnston. And the big fella gets another one to go down. Charles Johnston hitting his second 3 of the game. 2 out of 6. Paladins, though, have struggled from afar. They're 7 for 23. And a foul going to be called out high on Wilkins. That'll be the 4th on the freshman.
And even though, you know, the half-court defense has failed the Paladins at time, their transition defense has been pretty solid. They've not allowed a lot of fast break points out of this fast and quick Alabama team.
Bob Ritchie, in adjusting his coaching staff, some guys moved on, but we'll have a little bit of a different defensive philosophy, Dean, to your point, as he's kind of grown the defense, kind of, I should say, reverted kind of what he had been doing in recent seasons defensively.
Well, and with some changes, he lost some assistants, and that's when he brought in Joe Pierre to help, who had spent many years at Liberty, and he really has become the defensive coordinator.
O'Neal went for the rebound off the Holloway miss, but Bull Bowen comes away with it. Leaves that effort short. And Johnson with the rebound. Here's O'Neal. Try to shovel it inside. Wrightsell. Gentle layup. What a big addition or re-addition he'll be to their lineup this season.
They said he'd have some, quote, load management here today, but he's played a lot of minutes and really showed no ill effects. He went through warm-ups last week against Florida State, did not play.
Cal State Fullerton, they reminded them of the talents of a guy named Leon Wood, who was a star there way back in the day. Actually had a chance to talk to him about his Cal State Fullerton days before the game. Holloway tried to save it, but it'll stay with the Paladins. An official timeout on the court. Sunday afternoon, each of these teams trying to get better for what's ahead. A week from tomorrow, the regular season begins. Furman Paladins will get set to open up against High Point over at Rock Hill. Alabama starts with North Dakota.
The 3rd. Ritchie was very frank with us. We gave up 92 points in the title game. We needed someone to focus on defense and be our defensive coordinator. And Joe Pierre was at Liberty. They went 177 and 58. And there's his twin brother, Josh, who's the director of basketball operations at Alabama. And they are both the sons of Butch Pierre. And Nate Oates told me he might be the greatest recruiter in college basketball history.
Butch Pierre was really good in his day at LSU, Oklahoma State, and a number of other places. Yeah, he was known when he showed up, well, he had high probability of getting the kid in the gym.
At NC State and Wichita State, was the head coach at Northwest Florida State, and both coaches, Bob Ritchie and Nate Oates, just had so much positive things to say about the family, the culture they bring, the high quality of people they are, and obviously the job they're doing.
Alabama averaged better than 90 points a game a season ago. They're trying to push to that pace, and once again, Sherrell with another basket after he finished the previous possession, and the lead back out to 18. 69-51 tied. Bowser up top.
You can see the Tide extending their defense. They're jumping in passing lanes. They've been very good since really those first four possessions for Furman to start the game.
Quiet day for Tom House. Missing that three-pointer. He made one earlier, but he has just those 3 points. Jemison using the glass. London Jemison out of Bloomfield, Connecticut. Finished up his high school days at St. Thomas More Academy. Really good prep school in New England. Elijah Franklin, the freshman, is fouled by the junior, Aiden Holloway. Holloway with the very novel transfer from Auburn earlier in his career. Don't see that happen all that often in that state. Just like in this state, you don't see too many guys cross over from Clemson to South Carolina, vice versa. Although there have been a few over the years in a variety of sports. Franklin battling inside, trying to keep the possession, and it'll stay in Furman's end.
Holloway, 11.5 points a game last year. We've talked about his shooting, but he's stronger. That's going to help his defense. We've seen some possessions here this afternoon that have been encouraging if you're Nate Oates and staff.
Franklin and House, good job to swat it out to Thomas, wide open out front. Mr. Thomas unable to get another 3 to go. He's knocked down 3 of those so far. Phylon will head back to the line.
You see his quickness right there. Just a little hesitation dribble. You don't see Ben Vanderwall getting beat like that very often. Got out of his stance, and then at that point, you see it right there. All he can do is just foul.
That's the 3rd on Ben Vanderwall.
And because the Paladin defense is spread out, there was nobody in a help spot there to take the charge, or at least make Phylon pull up and take a tough shot.
Phylon 77% from the line a year ago. Bama as a team 72%. That's in the range you want to be. 28 in their exhibition win against Florida State. Averaged about 10.5 points a year ago. And 140 assists. That had him second, but pretty good ways to the great Mark Sears, who came to their program from Ohio and really gave them a big boost over the past few seasons.
Did Phylon again 28 minutes before that midnight deadline of the NBA draft. He pulls out.
And he commemorated it with that 28-point performance against the Seminoles. So it's a numbers game. House trying to add to his numbers, and he does with another 3. Boy, he was so hot over the final 10 games last year.
So who's going to be the guy that helps House loosen things up on this team? Of the returning players, just 31% from behind the arc last year.
Boy, House did his best just to hang around Phylon, and a hard hit by Millette. We told you he played in just 6 games last year. Looks like he's going to pop up and is okay, but that was nasty the way he finished. So 20 on the shot clock as the Tide gets ready to inbound. And Phylon pleading his case to Billy Dunlap, one of our officials, who thought he was fouled.
Good defense by House, didn't leave his feet.
Holloway, 16 points all in the first half. Gets it back from Phylon. That's Franklin, the freshman defending. Feed inside Sherrill, and a pretty move in front of the hoop for the big fella.
Boy, Franklin did a great job of keeping Holloway in front of him, but Bowser got pulled away from the basket.
8-point game for Sherrill. A 22-point lead for Bama. Cut into House. Back-to-back 3s for the Florida State transfer. Holloway looks to answer. And Johnston pulls it down. He's got a good day on the glass. Other end, and Bowser.
Great vision there by Franklin to look ahead. Good catch finish. They've not had a lot of easy baskets like that in the second half.
Phylon driving in on Bronson with like their arms in a...
Yeah, a little bit like Vanderwall. I mean, even better. And he started things, and then it was like Jordan Lyons and Clay Mounts and Noah Gurley and Alex Hunter, I mean, just on and on, but yet they've never missed a beat. Bothwell and Slauson. But yes, he was the one that really embraced their values, culture, and how they wanted to do things on and off the court.
Franklin driving in, a freshman, and the junior Bowser cleans up with the jam. Well, it's a 77-61 game just under 7 minutes to go. Bob Ritchie told us that as a senior, Matt Rafferty went over to the freshman dorm, got the freshman players together, went through the playbook with him. That's the kind of leader he was. And such a valuable member of this program during his time at Furman last decade. And another foul was called against the Paladins.
Bob Ritchie told us if he can add any of his former players, that Rafferty would be one of the top guys he would maybe choose from. And that really says a lot because they have had some dynamic players here over the last decade or two.
Not only players, but just dudes, right, that were all about winning, that did things the right way. Yeah, it does speak an awful lot. And they've had a lot of players over the last 8-9 years of Bob's tenure. It was a tough call at the other end. Ritchie thought there was verticality right there, and official pull it elsewhere, and Aiden Holloway to the free throw line.
And Holloway now has 18 with his first 2 points of this second half.
We need to,
you know, they also talking, you were mentioning, Pete, about Jackie Carson and what she did here as the women's coach, and now as an associate commissioner in the ACC over women's basketball. Not surprising, doing a terrific job.
She will be impressed with this building, which she coached in for many years. As a Furman women's coach before moving on to that role in the ACC.
Get over to Pierre Curtis, who was excited about this year's team, women's basketball for the Paladins.
Latrell Wrightsell picking up the personal foul. 5 on each team here in the second half. House off the inbound, hits a 2 from the baseline. Nice, a valuable player for them after averaging just over 7 points a game last year. Pull up by Holloway. Battle for the rebound. Coming down with it, Williamson, but they're going to get it over the back here.
Interesting guy in this age of the transfer portal. Charles Johnston for Furman has started at the Division II level, and we've seen that before, P.J. Smith and others, but you know, Williamson didn't have a single Division I scholarship coming out of high school. Bucknell offered him, and 3 years later, he was the Patriot League Player of the Year last year, and now he finds himself in the SEC, and a guy with 7-foot size and can knock down a 3. Not a terrific athlete, but he can play in this style of play.
Johnson has himself a double-double now, 14 points to go with 10 boards. A year ago, in his first season after arriving from a D2 program out in California, he averaged 5.3 points and 3.1 rebounds per game. Early in the season, he had his career high of 25 against Jacksonville. I really thought that was a kind of a preview of what was to come from him, but he never really was that consistent impact player that I know they're hoping he can be this year.
Yeah, as I said earlier, he's added some muscle, he's gotten stronger, really worked on trying to be a low post threat so he can score at all 3 levels.
Holloway reversing, what a play. It comes out though, but there's Williamson on the follow. He probably dominated with that kind of putback in the Patriot League, but looking to hold his own now with the Crimson Tide. Takes it out to an 81-64 advantage. Bronson. House off the feed from Bowser. Bronson. One of those players been in this program for a while. They're expecting him to take a step. One of their newcomers, Thomas, can't get it to fall. Johnston fouled on his way back up.
The guy per 40 minutes, Johnston is last year averaged like 9 rebounds per 40 minutes. So he knows where to go and what to do. He's got a nice instinct about him. But again, last year, transitioning from Division II to Division I. Now with added strength and experience, really has a chance to have a breakout year.
And he knows what it's like to go clean the glass. A couple of years ago, he was number 5 nationally in Division II with nearly 11 rebounds a game. So just kind of getting used to physical play on the D1 level. That may have been part of it. I'm not really sure. There's another year in Bob Ritchie's program. The players who come here, they just get better. I mean, it's just a proven fact. And no doubt he'll show great improvement, as he already has against a high-level opponent here in the exhibition game.
They're terrific in player development, a cornerstone of their program. Pete, we talked about earlier in the broadcast, in the Southern Conference, you can put Johnston and Bowser in there together, and even with Asa Thomas, Vanderwall, I mean, that's real size that's going to give some teams problems.
Timeout was called by the Crimson Tide to save the possession. Hannity with you on Ingles SoCon basketball. An 81-64 lead out of the timeout for Alabama. They inbound. Exhibition game winding down. Each team begin focus on their season openers. Alabama at home November 3rd against North Dakota. Furman playing an event over in Rock Hill, put on by the field of 68. See the High Point Panthers. Right cell off balance. That's kind of his game. Omaha, Nebraska native out of Cal State Fullerton. In the Big West, he probably scored a bunch like that, and they think if he can stay healthy this year, he will be a big factor.
Third year in the program, has a chance to be a leader as well. Just a terrific show of body control. He's a guy that also can knock it down behind the arc. He's got the ability, you see right there, to put on the floor, get to the rim, and finish with contact. But you put him and Holloway, others out there, boy, they are really, really dangerous behind the arc.
Latrell Wrightsell heads over to the bench. As best I know, the second Latrell to play for Alabama, at least in the last 30 years or so. The first one's pretty good.
Very good.
Latrell Sprewell is whom we talk about, and Wrightsell has studied up on him a little bit. We'll go for Bronson from the corner. Holloway remains out there, but throws it away.
One that'll show up on the film afterwards. Bristow not running the offense correctly and rolling to the basket, reading the defense.
And Bob Ritchie, Nate Oates goes with a sport coat look during games. Bronson, he and the freshman Wilkins will handle the bulk of the point guard chores. House can't get it to fall. Good job to stay in bounds by Philon.
That didn't go down, but a terrific offensive play right there by Bowser, screening for House.
Holloway the crossover. That's a tough assignment for House. Did a good job to force him to the baseline. Off the handoff, Philon, and right to the basket he goes. You could just tell he had a head of steam turning the corner.
Well, Vanderwall just ran into that big body in Williamson. 7 foot, about 255, 260.
And Bowser challenging Williamson. So the personal foul, that'll be his fourth.
The thing with Bowser, I mean, he's starting to mature. He's starting to embrace physicality, and with that comes better rebounding, more confidence at the offensive end. Is he a finished product? No, but I mean, there's going to be some games this year, fair to say, he will dominate. Dave and I had a game last year in the Well. They played Samford late January, and he was just fantastic.
He was
at the
phenomenal.
offensive end.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was a heck of a game. SoCon all-defensive team member last year, and really should be the most dominant, or at least among the most dominant big men this season. Rebound pulled down by Ernie Jaka. Other end. Tide adding to the lead.
Philon just had House backpedaling the entire way after that missed free throw.
Holloway defends Bronson, and a foul will be called. So Aiden Holloway picks up the personal, and it brings us to an official timeout. Crimson Tide, couple of exhibition games there. Along with Dean Keener and Dave Friedman, Pete Hannity with you on Ingles SoCon basketball. An 81-64 lead out of the timeout for Alabama. They inbound. Exhibition game winding down. Each team begin focus on their season openers. Alabama at home November 3rd against North Dakota. Furman playing an event over in Rock Hill, put on by the field of 68. See the High Point Panthers. Right cell off balance. That's kind of his game. Omaha, Nebraska native out of Cal State Fullerton. In the Big West, he probably scored a bunch like that, and they think if he can stay healthy this year, he will be a big factor.
Third year in the program, has a chance to be a leader as well. Just a terrific show of body control. he's a guy that also can knock it down behind the arc. He's got the ability, you see right there, to put on the floor, get to the rim, and finish with contact. But you put him and Holloway, others out there, boy, they are really, really dangerous behind the arc.
Latrell Wrightsell heads over to the bench. As best I know, the second Latrell to play for Alabama, at least in the last 30 years or so. The first one was pretty good.
Very good.
Latrell Sprewell is whom we talk about, and Wrightsell has studied up on him a little bit. We'll go for Bronson from the corner. Holloway remains out there, but throws it away.
One that'll show up on the film afterwards. Bristow not running the offense correctly and rolling to the basket, reading the defense.
And Bob Ritchie, Nate Oates goes with a sport coat look during games. Bronson, he and the freshman Wilkins will handle the bulk of the point guard chores. House can't get it to fall. Good job to stay in bounds by Philon.
That didn't go down, but a terrific offensive play right there by Bowser, screening for House.
Holloway the crossover. That's a tough assignment for House. Did a good job to force him to the baseline. Off the handoff, Philon, and right to the basket he goes. You could just tell he had a head of steam turning the corner.
Well, Vanderwall just ran into that big body in Williamson. 7 foot, about 255, 260.
And Bowser challenging Williamson. So the personal foul, that'll be his fourth.
The thing with Bowser, I mean, he's starting to mature. He's starting to embrace physicality, and with that comes better rebounding, more confidence at the offensive end. Is he a finished product? No, but I mean, there's going to be some games this year, fair to say, he will dominate. Dave and I had a game last year in the Well. They played Samford late January, and he was just fantastic at the offensive end.
Yeah, that was a heck of a game. The SoCon all-defensive team member last year, and really should be the most dominant, or at least among the most dominant big men this season. Rebound pulled down by Onijaka. Other end. Tied. Adding to the lead.
Philon just had House backpedaling the entire way after that missed free throw.
Holloway defends Bronson, and a foul will be called. So Aiden Holloway picks up the personal, and it brings us to an official timeout. Crimson Tide, couple of exhibition games. Their first against Florida State. That was a game in his few seasons in the program, and someone they're counting on to take a big, big step ahead. He knocks down the second.
He started a couple of games last year, but yeah, he really is going to have to play. He's going to have to man the point at times, but just be a guard for them.
Onijaka down low. Tough guy to defend. This ball comes away. Allen. They've gone deeper into their bench. Preston Murphy with the ball on the floor for the first time this afternoon. Here's Allen. And goes over Johnston. That's a 6'11" big man he's able to get over top of.
When we talk about Preston Murphy, that would be Preston Murphy Jr., his father an assistant on the Alabama bench. Murphy was a terrific player at Rhode Island back in the day, and now known as one of the best assistant coaches.
Thrown away. Pass was intended for Thomas.
It's just the 9th turnover for Furman. Feels like they've had a bit more than that. I mean, you look at the stats, they've had 20 assists on 24 made baskets. That's a positive. Just 9 turnovers against this pressure that they've seen for the better part of 30-some minutes, but yet just 8 of 23 from the free throw line.
Allen made it look easy, finishing at the bucket. He's got 9. Well, as Nate Oates told Dave going into halftime, the fact that they turned up their defensive pressure really kind of told the story of how the script was flipped in that opening half after they fell behind 9-0. Look at the move by Bowser off the dribble. I'm not so sure how many times in his career at Furman I've seen him do that.
Well, you can see work paying off in the off season right there. You're right.
Murphy Jr. and he'll get it to go.
He's used to playing against that length and those shot blocking guys in practice, so a guy like Bowser didn't really affect him.
Bob Ritchie wants to get some others back in there. We'll see Colin O'Neill on what'll be a rolling timeout. So just for some purposes, although the team is actually now huddled around on a 30-second timeout call. So Bob Ritchie getting ready for his 9th season. 19 wins away from 200. I have a feeling he'll reach that during the year.
25 a year ago, 20-plus wins has become the norm for this Furman Paladin team.
And the upcoming schedule for the Crimson Tide. So they open at home against North Dakota. Look at what follows. I mean, sure, they've got tough teams all throughout their non-conference. They've got a game against Clemson and others. But to play those 4 teams in a row, I don't think they'll see 4 in a row like that in the NCAA.
And that's before Thanksgiving,
yeah.
Right? But again, as Nate Oates would say, we've got to prepare for the always tough SEC.
Dave Friedman, at least the games against Illinois and the Zags are a neutral court. By the way, Furman opens up against High Point and in Rock Hill, and then they're home here against Troy and some others. And the Paladins, of course, will use some of that non-conference action to get ready. But boy, that Alabama schedule and Nate Oates' philosophy, a lot like Bob Ritchie's, is try to expose your flaws in November to get ready for conference play.
Comes down to manipulating the new net, which is the primary tool that the selection committee uses to seed the teams. Once upon a time, it was trying to get the most wins you could total or the best quality wins. Now, you're really trying to play quad 1 games. And all those games, St. John's and Purdue, if you lose, it's a quad 1 loss. It really doesn't hurt you. But if you win a quad 1 game, it can be tremendously valuable. That's why you no longer see teams playing the bottom of the NCAA, because a quad 3 or a quad 4 loss is absolutely debilitating to your schedule. So the best teams in the country either want to play teams they can blow out by 50, or they want to play other really good teams. It makes scheduling incredibly difficult for everybody in the middle.
Well, absolutely, and that was going to be my point. You talk about a team like Furman, Chattanooga, ETSU, those teams that have been like 75 to 140 net, like they can't get games. Because of realignment, teams are playing in the Power 5, the Power 4 in the Big East in basketball. They're playing 20 games, so that only leaves them a handful. If you've got a natural rivalry, clamp down. But it really hurts the Furmans to try to say, who can we get even at home or on the road?
Why would anyone play Furman?
That's
not here. They're not coming
point.
here to play.
But my point is, like, the net has now manipulated things for the Power 5s. It has not helped the Southern Conference.
It's not surprising that Nate Oates would play this exhibition, but would not play this as a regular season game.
No one's going to come in and face Bob Ritchie's team here. And then, to the benefit of the SoCon, the fact that Commissioner Michael Cross and the league put together the A-Sun series, that's really beneficial because that guarantees you some non-conference games in a season you don't have to go out and try to find elsewhere.
Well, and hopefully against like opponents, because it's really hard to find those games. Furman playing High Point is tremendously valuable at a neutral site for both of those programs. It's not expensive to get to Rock Hill. You're playing another really good team, and you kind of find out where you are early.
Yeah, you know, and the whole debate of, hey, should we add teams in the NCAA tournament? I don't care where you land on that. But if you add 6, 8, 10, or 12 more, it's not going to be teams at the mid-major level. It's just not. It's going to be an 8-8 Virginia Tech team, or somebody of that nature, because they're playing so many quad 1.
But that's exactly it. It's because Alabama can play Purdue and St. John's that those teams, no one loses from that. You only gain a quad 1 win. So when you get to March Madness, you get to the selection show, Alabama can say, yeah, we lost to St. John's, but we beat Purdue, and we played a tight game against Gonzaga all the way across the country. Meanwhile, the ETSU of the world and the Chattanooga of the world, they just don't have those games to point to because no one's going to play that.
No, that's and in some sense that's sad, right? I mean, it's a while ago from having those kind of matchups, whether it's neutral court or not.
Final minute of action here. O'Neill. He won't get it to go. Thomas battles for the rebound, fighting inside. Scramble for the ball, and the arrow will keep it in the Paladins' end. Well, Furman on better days beyond the arc, but Alabama probably a lot to say about that. Paladins just over 25%. on three-point attempts. A year ago as a team, they were second to SoCon at 37.
Well, again, we talked about it at the top. The Paladins can be big, or they can play fast and spread it out. Lots of versatility. And they're going to be a fun team to watch as they grow in November, December before we hit conference play. But, again, who's that guy that's going to help Tom House? Is it Asa Thomas? Who else right now that can make shots behind the arc?
Bowser. Emerson came over and nearly took it away. Hannah dogging Thomas. Thomas forcing it. And it comes back down to the Tide. Shot clock turned off. Nate Oates will simply let him dribble it out. Gracious of Nate Oates to bring his team here as somewhat of a dedication game, if you will, albeit an exhibition contest, and the Tide they'll go 2-0 in their preseason against Florida State and Furman. This one a 96-71 win. Now each team gets ready for opening night coming up on the 3rd of November. Furman and Rock Hill against High Point. Nate Oates and the Tide in Tuscaloosa at Coleman Coliseum against North Dakota.
It's not always what you do right, it's what you don't do wrong. And after the Tide kind of watched the Paladins knock down 3 threes really early in the game, they stepped their defensive pressure up, particularly on the ball, and then they started attacking the rim, got some easy looks, knocked down threes. I think both coaches, both programs won from this game. Nate Oates, though, he needs to prepare for a gauntlet starting next week.
Furman Paladins opening up this beautiful new arena this afternoon. We'll see Furman's football team return to the gridiron with Ingalls SoCon football coming your way a week from this Saturday, November 8th from Chattanooga. It's a noon kickoff.